Coming up on today's episode of Parasport Nation, the 2025 Senior Goalball National Championships took place over the weekend. I was there. I got interviews. I got them for you. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
This is Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smyth, as always joined by co-host Nathan Clement. Nathan, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing great, Alex. I heard from talking to you off camera that it was a great trip, but I wouldn't be doing my job as a Big J journo if I did not ask you about a delicacy you got to try over there, the Saskatchewan pizza.
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah. So this was something we had talked about leading up to the trip. Saskatchewan being known for their own variation of pizza. Shockingly, it was delicious. I will set the scene before we describe the actual pizza. So, my boss, Andy, he was there beforehand. He was asking around. He scouted out what the best place to get the pizza in Saskatoon was. He was told, go to Vern's. But not only go to Vern's, go to Vern's original location. And this happened to be literally located inside a small gas station. So you're pulling up to Vern's Pizza inside a gas station. We go in and to the right, you got all the stands of just like, your gas station essentials, things like that. And then to the left, you got a little kiosk with some pizza and an attendant. I ordered 2 different varieties. They had 3 on display. The pizzas themselves had to be at least 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, maybe pushing 3, to describe it so well. It is the crust on the bottom with a nice simple red sauce. Then your toppings and fillings are inside that pizza. So the ones I got was like a full meat one, and then a meat one with pineapple and like bell peppers in the middle, and then on top of it, cheese. Shockingly, Nathan, it was delicious. I did not expect, based on the location, based on the vibe, based on the look of the pizza, it was going to taste as good as it did. But every single element of the dish was phenomenal. The crust was perfect. It was chewy. It was light. The sauce was sweet, slightly acidic. The filling was delicious. It was good quality. And the cheese on top topped it up perfectly. Got to be one of my favorite pizzas. I never thought I would say that, and it was a unanimous show of support from everyone who tried it on the trip. So if you are ever in Saskatoon, go to Vern's Pizza, try the Saskatchewan-style pizza. You will not be disappointed.
There's something with this show that we've really become the convenience store and gas station food review spot, and I'm here for it. I love it, especially the conversations we've had in the past with Devin Haru talking about 7-Elevens and now you talking about gas station pizza. It's just absolutely amazing. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't throw this at you. What would be your review on the pizza scale? What would you rate the 2 pizzas you tried?
Okay, so just so I have the context, what pizza scale are we talking? Am I trying to compare it, or am I giving it its own rating out of 5?
Own rating out of 5.
Okay, so I will say it is getting a solid 3.8. Now, I'm a bit of a harsh critic at times. People have told me that. I've made people angry with when giving my unfiltered opinion on food. I think a 5 is like the greatest pizza you can have in the world. I literally have tried in Hamilton. There was Cowabunga pizza, which won the greatest and best cheese slice in the world. I tried it. Delicious. I would give that a 4.5, 4.7. So even though it's won the crown of best pizza in the world, it's not a 5 for me. So that gives you some context. Like Vern's Pizza, delicious, but it's not a pizza you could have every time. It's a once a year kind of dish. So yeah, the mid to high 3s, I think it deserves its spot there. Well deserved. Definitely something I will be thinking about for the next month or so until I eventually get back to Saskatoon sometime in the future.
Yeah, with food rating scales, that high 3 is a sacred level. And that's something we have to put in there. But you also mentioned earlier in the conversation that you are pro pineapple on pizza. So that's a very important thing that we have in agreement on this show. But because I know pineapple on pizza gets controversial. Now, if you were...
It can.
It can. Yeah. If you were to make your dream Saskatchewan pizza, what would it be?
I think you just go with all the meats, Nathan. That is what you need. Just fill it up with meat, have the cheese on the top, have the sauce on the bottom. You won't be disappointed. Don't overcomplicate it. But, okay, enough about the pizza, okay? I was there in Saskatoon for a reason. I was covering the National Senior Goalball Championships. I was doing the play-by-play. I was joined by Tony Badger, who was a phenomenal guest to have on the play-by-play with me, former Paralympian. The knowledge that man had on all things goalball was tremendous. And you just saw him all weekend, just kind of digging into the different storylines of the tournament, talking to different people, finding out their backstories, where they're from, how they got into goalball. It was so much fun being able to call the play-by-play for both the women's and the men's gold medal matches. I talked about before I went, just wondering how that level of competition, the speed was going to be. Oh my goodness, especially when it came to Nova Scotia's A's men's team. We had Peter Parsons, who I have an interview from, we'll hear shortly, but his two teammates, the ones he recruited to the team, you have Harry Nickerson and you have, I believe it's Matt Smyth, and they're just young guns on the team. They have that athleticism. They would get the ball and have it going back the other direction in under a second. I kid you not, it was so impressive. Nearly impossible to keep up with it and give a description for the folks at home in real time because it was happening so quick, but it was so impressive to watch. So without further ado, why don't we play some of these interviews that I had a chance to gather while I was on the ground. Let's start with Jennie Bovard, a friend of the program who was there representing Nova Scotia, who was actually on a joint squad, a Quebec or BC and Nova Scotia squad. They ended up claiming the bronze medal at the end of the competition. Here's that tape. Jennie, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you here at the National Goalball Tournament. How are you doing so far? It's now Sunday. You've had a couple of days of games. How are you feeling?
I have to be honest, we were all at breakfast and talking about a little bit about how physically tired we are, but we're all still really excited to play today. It has been an interesting tournament, Alex. I'm playing with not my usual Nova Scotia team. I'm playing with BC. We've formed BCNS, as we're calling ourselves. My teammate from Nova Scotia, her name is Alexis Nickerson. She's joined me on the BC team. So it's been an interesting experience, and we have fared pretty well. We've won 2 of our 5 games, so that's put us in the 4th position, which means that we're going to play the first place team after the round robin, and that is Ontario A, and they are the team to beat. They often mercy the teams here at Nationals, including us. Our game was 15-5, and we were the 5, the people who scored 5 in that game. And yeah, so I'm really excited going into the 1 versus 4 game. I think we're going to kind of conserve our energy for the bronze medal game later on today. So yeah, we're a little tired after a lot of intense gameplay over the weekend, but I think we're all excited as usual.
How do you build a rapport or even just a cohesive team when you're being paired up with players you've never even met before?
I have said a couple times over the weekend, it's really weird, and it's a really it's a challenge. I welcome a challenge. I have said playing with strangers, but really they're not strangers. They're people who I've competed against over the years, and I've just not had the pleasure to sort of get to know them on that level, right? So Friday, Friday was really working out the kinks. We had our first game and, figuring out where each other like to be positioned on the court, how we like to communicate, how we like to pass. But at the end of the day, we're all goalball players and we're all here to have fun playing a sport that we enjoy playing. And that's really what it came down to, and you really quickly build a rapport, and the little team meetings ahead of time really help, and going to breakfast with one another really helps, and then you get to know each other's sense of humor and you bring that into the mix, and if I can make someone laugh, then you know you're on the right track.
Now, obviously, you're busy this weekend with goalball, but familiar fans of AMI know you have other projects going on. Tell us a bit about what's been happening with Pretty Blind, your show on AMI TV.
Pretty Blind is something I have not shut up about this weekend. I've been telling everybody about it because I'm so excited. We have a earlier release date than we even anticipated. So coming in July, Pretty Blind is going to be airing on AMI TV and on AMI Plus. And I have seen some of the rough cuts, and I've seen some of the bits and pieces, and it's so good. It's turned out so well. I keep pinching myself and asking myself, how do I get to work with all of these amazing professionals in this field? And I'm so pumped, and a lot of people in my community here in goalball are really pumped about it too. There is a goalball episode, which is the thing I've been talking about all weekend to get people pumped up for it. So yeah, I'm really excited, and everyone from Pretty Blind is really excited too. The whole crew is we all just have such love for the project.
That's awesome. Well, Jennie, best of luck the rest of this weekend.
Thank you.
We may be hearing you potentially on the broadcast, depending how things go.
We'll see.
Hopefully we don't, because that means you're playing in the gold medal match. So
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I think I said earlier we would be playing in the bronze medal match, and that's yeah. You never know. Anything could happen.
Yeah. Well, best of luck, Jennie.
Thank you so much.
That was my conversation with Jennie Bovard. Nathan, I know I had to throw a question in as a good AMI employee. I have to do the cross promo of her upcoming show, Pretty Blind, and I thought it was, you could tell from her excitement, she's really excited for that project to come out, but it was just tremendous to see her out there competing. I've seen her a couple times, in the different competitions, but the real unfortunate thing in the reality of these types of competitions, as soon as her game was over, she was changed, she was dressed, and she was ready to go to the airport because she had to get back to Halifax. She wasn't even able to attend the medal ceremony. So that's the nature of these types of competitions where they take place over a weekend. Some athletes, they got to go before they can get their flowers.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate aspect of many of these sports, especially when you're in locations and airlines, flight times, and even the cost can prevent you from flying out the day after or something like that. But to have a joint team like BC and Nova Scotia come together as a BCer, be able to get on that podium is always amazing. And Jennie is just a great ambassador for the sport, like everyone there in Saskatchewan.
And another person who was able to get on the podium was Peter Parsons. He and Team Nova Scotia A had such a tremendous back and forth match for the gold medal game for the men's. They were up at first. It was the energy. There was a bit of cockiness from Harry Nickerson, just waving his hands to the crowd, trying to get them pumped up. But Alberta Blue, they continued to stick to their game plan. It was really entertaining, and the tides turned. This was my conversation with Peter Parsons prior to that gold medal match. Well, Peter, we're at another goalball tournament. It seems every single time we're here, you're here. How has the weekend gone for you so far?
It's went quite well. My Nova Scotia men's team, we are going to finish third after the round robin, and we're going to play actually the loser of the BC Alberta game that's going on right now, because the loser, they're both undefeated. The loser of that game is going to be the second seed, and then we'll play. So just watching it just then, kind of scouting it out a bit, and BC are up 3-0 early. And BC are the team that we played for gold last year on our home court that we won in a shootout. It was very exciting. So I think we're going to have some exciting games coming up.
Now, how has the level of competition been so far at this competition? You're no stranger to the goalball field of play, especially on the provincial national level. How does this competition stack up against some of the others you've been to?
It's the highest level for the Canadian teams. Like, we have some tournaments in Canada, like in Montreal and in Vancouver, where we have some international competition. But this is like the competition that all the Canadian teams are peaking for. So it's been a really good competition. And as I tell my guys, it's all about Sunday. The round robin gets you sort of seedings, and we have a couple of our top players with some injuries. So we've been kind of resting strategically. But I think we have some of the most depth out of the team, so we're able to use our bench, and I feel good about where we're at going into the semis and finals, hopefully.
Now, just a quick thought on Saskatoon. It's been years since they've hosted a national goalball championship. What do you think of the host city this time around?
They've been great. It's one thing that's different is playing in a host city that doesn't have a team, but it's so great. Like Linnell Scott, who is the president of CBSA, said, no, we'll host it. I don't think anybody was really putting a bid in for it this year, because we did last year in Nova Scotia, and so. Very friendly people, and it's been so well organized and run. Everything's on schedule. We had a great opening ceremonies. We have a banquet tonight for the first time in years, so that's going to be really nice having a banquet at our nationals.
Well, Peter, best of luck. I don't want to hold you off from taking in any of the action, and hopefully we'll see you in the gold medal match.
All right, thanks so much, Alex.
That was my conversation with Peter Parsons, a member of the Nova Scotia A team that took home the silver medal from that competition. And I could tell from Peter after the competition, him and his team, they were disappointed with that silver because, as I said, during that gold medal game, they did have the lead. They were really effective in targeting some of those key points on the Alberta Blue defense. But, when you get up and you're attacking with speed and intensity, your energy dips really quickly, and that ended up happening for Nova Scotia. And Alberta stayed steady, got back into the game, pulled out ahead, and they maintained their lead. The last person I had a chance to talk to during this competition was someone I wasn't anticipating seeing at all, Nathan. This is someone who has spent a lot of time on the national and international stage. Priscilla Gagné, the Paralympic judoka. I was literally just walking into the school where the competition was held. I turned a corner and I see her standing there. It's like, Priscilla, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, hi, I'm here competing for Team Quebec. It took me completely by surprise. I had to have a conversation with her and find out how she was doing and what attracted her to goalball. Here's our conversation. Priscilla, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I was surprised to actually see you here today.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke was about you retiring from judo.
Yes.
How did you find goalball?
So I actually used to play goalball. I was an alternate back in 2008 or so. So I used to play pretty well for a while, but I had switched to judo because I like the competitiveness of judo. I like the aggressive, choking people is fun. They frown on that in goalball, in case you didn't know. But so I'm in Paris. I injured my meniscus. I have a small tear in my meniscus, so I can't do combat yet. I can only do certain things in judo. So to kind of pass the time, I picked up goalball again. So just doing it for fun, not officially, just having fun.
And how have you enjoyed this weekend being here at the National Goalball Tournament?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been probably the last time I was in Nova Scotia was in 2004, which might have been my last nationals. So it's kind of fun, and of course my old teammate Whitney is here coaching Ontario. So we went to high school together and grew up on the team together, and so it's kind of fun to be here at the same tournament together. So it's very nostalgic.
And for yourself as a high performance athlete, what does it mean and how important is it to find other sports when you aren't able to necessarily compete in judo because of injuries and things like that? How important is it to find another sport that you can still be competitive, you can let out that competitive fire that you have?
Oh, I think it's hugely important because it's an amazing outlet, especially if you're an athlete and it's just something you're used to doing. If you can find something that you can continue to have that adrenaline rush and get that heart rate up, man, you do it. Even if you have to learn a new sport in order to do it, it's so rewarding. It's so satisfying, and I highly recommend it.
What's been the best part of this weekend so far for you?
Getting to know the team, and having fun. I guess yesterday we played Ontario A, and it's the first time that they have not been mercied by Ontario A, like our team. So they were so excited about that, so that made me really happy. So that was a really great moment.
Well, best of luck the rest of the weekend, Priscilla. I'm going to be rooting for you, and hopefully we see you, whether it's in judo, whether it's in goalball, you continue to have those competitions and those high performances.
I love it. Thank you so much.
And that was my conversation with Priscilla Gagné, who was representing Team Quebec at the goalball competition. Nathan, for her, she was using it as a means of rehab and also talking about her first love with goalball, how she originally got into that before she got into judo when she was searching for something a bit more physical. It never ceases to amaze me that you'll have these Paralympic athletes who are so good at what they do. They reach such a high level, but they're still eagerly looking for another sport just to keep that competitive fire going and feed that intensity that they have inside themselves. And that's something I know your own experience is something you know quite well, but even from the other athletes we've talked to in the past.
Yeah, it's just incredible. A lot of the guests that we have on, whether it's Billy Bridges, Priscilla Gagné, Brianna Hennessy, we could go through the list of pretty well everyone. They're all multi-sport athletes, and it's that old adage, and one thing that, especially like for young kids or athletes in general, you want to be the best that you can be at one sport, but to be the best at that sport, you have to try other activities. You have to try other sports, and that really helps you grow. And just for Priscilla in her own journey, trying something different and going back to that fundamentals for her must be so special and really incredible. And just listening to you talk and the play-by-play, you've been mentioning like how fast that pace of play was in Saskatchewan. And for you, other than that, was there any teams or any real players or anything that you saw from that event that really caught your eye and caught your perspective that you hope to see or you expect to see in future competitions?
Yeah, so the gold medal match for the women, I haven't had a chance to talk about that one. It was a dominant performance by Team Ontario Women's, led by Amy Burke. But on the flip side, they were facing off against Team Alberta. Megan Mahon, who is also a member of the national team, she started off playing center there for Team Alberta in the gold medal match, but she was so solid for her team. But Ontario was just picking on the wingers. They were picking on the other two members of Team Alberta. And so you saw the coach trying to slide Megan around on the court just to give her more opportunities to get involved because she was so strong. As a result, she ended up winning the MVP for the women's competition. It was well-deserved. It was really great seeing her battle out there. And it's just unfortunate, she came up against such a strong team in the gold medal matchup to lose to Team Ontario. But for her, I would love to get her perspective, hear what it meant, what she thought going through that competition, and how she felt going against Team Ontario in that gold medal final. But yeah, she was definitely my MVP for the tournament, and someone I was kind of paying close attention to throughout the games.
Yeah, that sounds just like talking about the back and forth, and especially with the women's roster and everything they done in Santiago in 2023, defeating the states there. It shows just the place that they're in the caliber of athletes. I've been able to meet Megan multiple times, whether it's in games villages or different content summits, and just the leadership that she has, but also someone like Amy Burke really shows where that program has been, and the success that they have had is just incredibly special. But with a lot of programs, there's a lot going on in the Paralympic sport world, and there's no better segue, no better cue to get into the Parasport Nation update.
Now, the PSN Update.
Grab your passports for this edition of the Parasport Update as we jet around the world. Paracycling's final World Cup of the Year gets underway in Maniago, Italy from May 15th to 18th. Friend of the show, Alex Hayward will be racing for the World Cup title in the Dolomites. Staying in Italy, the final World Cup before the Parafencing World Championships begin. Saskatchewan's Ryan Roussel heads in rank 6 as he searches for the podium in the male saber A. In the land of the rising sun, Paratriathlon dives into the Yokohama World Series. Pride of Calgary, Stefan Daniel looks to add more hardware to his storied career. On the ice, Canada's para ice hockey roster has been announced ahead of the Para Hockey World Championships in Buffalo, New York later this month. Russ Harrington's group features 16 members of the 2024 World Championship squad, led by Captain Tyler McGregor and Adam Kingsmill between the pipes. Canada's quest to go back-to-back begins in Group A with a battle against Germany before facing against Korea and China. Check into PSN to hear how Canada fared, and that's the PSN update.
Now, tons to get to and unpack in that PSN update. You really were taking us all over the world with some very notable names in the mix. Let's start with your sport and your teammate, Alex Hayward, going for the title in Italy. I mean, talk a bit about how impressive his year has been so far, because he has been racking up wins.
It's been really phenomenal. Just for the listeners to know and viewers to know, Alex is my roommate on a lot of these projects. Alex and I are super close, so for him, he's always been climbing the scales, climbing that ladder, and for him to be in a place now where he's really being a dominant player in the time trial, but in the road race as well, it's really exciting to see. In Belgium, in the previous weeks, he broke away from the front group and won his race by a good amount of time. So just seeing that growth, that excitement, and just all the work that he's put into training is really, really amazing. And just the team as a whole, we had teammate of mine, Martin Doof, H1 hand cyclist. He ended up winning a bronze medal today in the time trial. Alex gets going tomorrow, as well as Mel Pemble, Jessica Law, and a few other members of the team get to their first time trial of the Maniago race. So it's really, really exciting to hear and see how the program is doing.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on the wheelchair fencing as well, because that is one, or I should say now, it was wheelchair fencing, now it's para fencing. That is a sport that we haven't really had a chance to kind of explore on this program, but I'm really excited. Maybe once after the competition is done, we can bring on Ryan to kind of learn more about his sport and his journey, because I have a little bit of a connection to fencing. When I was at Trent, I was kind of trying out and doing a bit of the fencing, and I enjoyed it. It just wasn't a sport I was able to pursue long term, but I would love to kind of explore more of the para fencing world once that competition is done. What about you, Nathan? Is there any other sport that really you want to get on or you want to explore more within the program?
I really feel like parafencing is a very unique, interesting world, because for me, that was actually the first adaptive program I fully tried, was fencing itself, not the wheelchair aspect of it, but I did it for about a year when I was quite young, and I really, really enjoyed the sport as a whole. I had a tough instructor, but overall it was a lot of fun. But there's so many sports I would love to cover. One that's coming to mind is amputee soccer. It's something that's really starting to appear on my feeds, starting to get a lot of coverage, at least from what I've seen, with them having events and games on MLS pitches, MLS fields, but keeping in that soccer or footy world, as the purists would call it. I would love to talk more and more about 7-a-side soccer and as well 5-a-side, because they're two just very unique and different versions of the beautiful game, and there's just so much to cover and so much to explore with all those sports.
Well, lucky for you, our next edition of Parasport Nation will feature an interview with Ramya Amuthan talking all about 5-a-side soccer, Nathan. So you don't have to wait long, but you will have to wait for next episode, because the show is finished. Thank you for watching and listening. Be sure to follow us online on YouTube at Parasport Nation, on social media, Parasport Nation AMI, and give us a listen through podcast or through AMI audio. I'm Alex Smyth. That's Nathan Clement. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.